Okay, so I nearly I nearly sued an electronic company for something that was totally my fault. Basically, I was at my house, it was New Year's Eve, and I had two of my ex-friends there. There are many names I could give these girls. I'm just going to call them Thing 1 and Thing 2 because honestly, that is... So I was chilling with them at my house. It's New Year's Eve. I'm waiting for two guys to come to the house. One of them was my ex, who I'm going to call Hairline. And the other one was his mate, who I never really liked, but it's like my boyfriend's mate. So like, I've got to be nice to them and blah, blah, blah. I had tried to make my house look as nice as possible for New Year's Eve, including putting up fairy lights like behind me and loads of candles. I'd lit loads of tea lights and put them all around my house. My TV was one of those annoying TVs that the aerial didn't always work, and if it lost signal, you know, it goes all blurry and like funny. I was in my room doing my makeup ready for my partner who was coming over so that I looked nice for him, and my friends were shouting at me from the living room saying the TV had fucked up. The signal had gone. So I was like, okay, so I moved the TV a little bit. Like normally you either move the aerial or the TV and then it starts to work again. I moved the TV a little bit and then it started to work. So I went back to my room to finish my makeup. About 5 to 10 minutes later, Thing 1 and Thing 2 started screaming. And I'm listening at first thinking, are they like pranking me? Like, what are they screaming about? And then they were screaming my name, like telling me, come, Slaney, come. They're proper screaming. So I run down my hallway. The TV is on fire. Half the TV. This was like, I'm going to say it was a 40-inch TV. Half of it was on fire. So I freeze because that's what I do. When I'm shocked, I freeze. I'm looking at this TV like, what the fuck happened? In my head, I was 19, okay? My first thought was, we need to chuck it on my balcony because I had this roof terrace balcony thing. I don't live there anymore. This is my old flat. It was this like roof terrace that was just this huge balcony that was just mine. So at first I'm thinking, we need to throw the TV on the balcony because I'm thinking it's going to explode. We need to get it out of my house. This is how panicked I was. I grabbed the end of the TV that's not on fire. I start screaming at Thing 1 to grab the other end, but obviously the other end is on fire. So I'm like, imagine her face. I'm screaming at her, pick up the TV. She's there like, I can't. My other friend, Thing 2, stupid. She was the oldest out of all of us, but she was the most stupid. She tried to grab a bowl of washing up water to chuck on the TV. She literally had it in her hands, a bowl full of washing up water. Thing 2 starts screaming at her like, put it down. I then run into the kitchen. It was open plan, right? My kitchen and my front room, it was open plan. I ran to one of my drawers and just grabbed a load of tea towels and just chucked them at my friends, and we've all got a tea towel each, and that is how we got the fire out in the end. We started banging this TV with these tea towels. The flames were going fucking everywhere. It burned a massive hole into my carpet, and a part of the TV melted into my carpet. Where we whacked the TV, some of the melted TV came off and embedded itself in the carpet. That happens. My boyfriend comes, the house is filled with smoke, and he's like, what the fuck is going on? I was devastated, not just because I fucked my TV up, but also I had no money to buy a new one. That TV, my mum had bought me for Christmas. 25th of December, and by the 31st of December, it's destroyed. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I have to get a new one. But I've got no money for one. So then, me and my partner, the next day, come up with a plan. And I'm just going to say it, I want to take credit, it was my plan. It wasn't a good plan. I'm not saying it was moral, but I'm really proud of the plan. So I was like, we need to take the TV back to the shop and say it just set on fire by itself. And my ex was like, what? And I was like, I need to get a new TV. And he's like, well, where did your mum get it from? And then I'm like, shit, I don't know. The label at the back where it said where the TV was from had obviously been melted. So I ring my mum and I try and be bare subtle. And I was like, oh, where did you get the TV from? And she's like, why do you want to know? Like, all suspicious. And I was like, oh, my friend really wants the same TV. So then my mum told me where it was from. I'm not going to say where it's from. So she tells me where it's from. So then the very next day, me and my ex, we put the TV in his car. We drive to the shop, and it's one of those chain shops that sells things, not just electronics. It's you would know, it's a very famous sort of shop. It's a very famous company. We carried this TV, we parked up, we carried this TV down the high street. I just put the TV on the counter, and the guy behind the counter is looking at it like, why have you brought this in? And I was like, me and my daughter watching Peppa Pig and it just set on fire. And the guy was like, what? And I was like, yeah, it just set on fire by itself. And he looks like fucking shocked and like, I don't know what to do, because he'd obviously never had something like that before. He was like, I'm gonna go get a manager. He goes to the back of the store, him and a manager come back, and he's like, did it just set on fire by itself? And I was like, yes, and I'm actually looking to sue. Because in my head at this point, I'm happy to sue, because I'm thinking, how are they gonna know? Like, how are they gonna know that the fire was man-made? Oh, because how the fire started, oh my God, I didn't even say. How the fire started is where I'd adjusted the TV. I had these tea lights. You know, I told you that I decorated the house with fairy lights and tea lights. the tea lights, I'd laid them out on the TV stand. And then where I turned the TV, this tea light had set on fire. So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna sue. Like, this TV could have exploded and killed me and my child. Like, the manager looked really scared and he was like, do you not just take a new one? Just take a new TV. They came and brought me out a new TV. They were like, just leave this with us, okay? Like, we can take your details if you want. And I was like, no, do you know what? That won't be necessary. I'm just glad that I'm alive. I'm just glad that I can live another day. I was proper playing the victim. Like, I was coming across like a Karen. Like, I could have died. How dare you? They gave us a new TV then and there. And we just carried it back. And I just placed it back on the TV stand as if nothing has happened. And I didn't tell my mum this story until like 5 years later. And she still doesn't find it funny. She never will. But I found it funny.